Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to the first episode of the OCast. Just O, just sports. With me, Octavius Miles. So let's get right into it. Let's get right into this. We going first, before we get into these review of the first week of the NFL, let's talk about the purpose of the show. First things first, the purpose of this show is to have a common place, common ground for us fans, just fans. We're not former pro athletes. We're not retired athletes. We're not journalists. We're not reporters. We're the everyday working man, the everyday working woman who grinding to make ends meet, or it's not ends meet, but to provide a great life for their children and their family. That at the end of the day, end of the work week, these sports games, these sports events is such a breath of fresh air. It's somewhat of a therapeutic type of moment for us all. Sports is not just a game and a ball or a puck or two excuse me, or boxing, two people punching at each other, or UFC kicking or whatnot. Sports is, my opinion, one of the most binding factors, things, or whatever the word that I'm looking for, to keep the country, to keep the world together. Because when we're at these sporting events, you see every single race represented. You see every age almost represented. You see all sexualities represented. And in my opinion, in these settings, nobody's concerned about any of that. We're watching the game. Now, as far as television, Undisputed, it's getting a little bit watered down. First take as well. Besides the fact that it seems like they just swapped co-hosts, they just swapped co-stars, right? Keyshawn is now on FS1 and Shannon is now on First Take, of course. But it's still scripted debate. It's not, to my opinion, it's not real sports conversation. It's not two or more men or women discussing what they just watched, giving their opinions, giving their breakdowns on it, and each one of us respecting the person's opinion because we know what we're talking about. We know what we just watched. Too many times people like to discredit other people's opinion over a sport because they feel like they didn't play pro or they didn't play in college, neglecting the fact that people spend hours and hours and hours watching these games and watching these interviews and watching breakdowns and watching post interviews, pre-interviews, looking at game plans. There's some fans that are really OD when it comes to their team. And well, that itself gives somebody the time and the knowledge to know what they're talking about when they're watching or expressing their feelings about their team, especially someone's favorite team. You can't tell a fan, a super fan, that they don't know what they're talking about when it comes to their team. Them damn near fighting words. Don't do that. So as far as, like I was saying with television, this isn't a debate show. This isn't a show where I'm an expert. I'm not an expert. It's not a show. This is in no way, shape, or form is my reactions, the consensus to what just happened. It's not. This is my point of view. And what I want you all to do is to interact with me on this show. Comment down below. Talk to each other. Interact with each other. I want this to be similar to when you're at work in the break room. You're talking to one of your coworkers about the game last night. And you say, hey, bro, did you see Kyrie cross buddy up last night? And he said, hell yeah, I saw that. But did you see blase too, though? Yes. And then next thing you know, another coworker comes in and he mentions that he saw the game as well. Or he mentions a different game. Or he mentions something else in the game. Then that starts the conversation all over again. And another coworker comes in, and now it's 4 or 5 of you talking about the game last night, and you don't even realize how much time y'all are spending right there. Next thing you know, 30 minutes have passed by, 45 minutes have passed by, and then you're like, oh snap, let's get back to work. And then that feeling, and then you have a sense of rejuvenation, right? You have a sense of feeling good. Don't try to lie. You do. Because I'm telling you, man, sports, man, it's powerful. It's powerful. So, with that being said, let's get into these games. This past NFL week was everything that no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna lie to you. The Falcons weren't that impressive to me. They weren't. my boy Justin, who was my favorite player. Let me go ahead and get into that. I'm a Falcons fan, as you can see. But also, I'm not only just a Falcons fan. My favorite football player, period, is Justin Fields. He's a local kid. I live here in Douglasville, a suburb from Atlanta, metro Atlanta area, and he is from Harrison, Georgia. He went to the high school there. He was a legend. Great kid, 5-star. When he went out of high school, he was a #1 recruit, #1 dual threat athlete, and he was a #1 player. And I just love the kid. Big, strong, fast, good family, good parents, good upbringing. You know what I'm saying? Low key, smart, you know what I mean? Good kid. And I love his game. I feel like he's a very accurate passer. He's like in my opinion, his passing is underrated, but he is a combination between Cam Newton as far as his size and the way he runs the ball with like a running back. He runs that like Cam, right? But he has speed. He may not be as fast, but he ain't too far behind speed like Lamar. You know what I mean? Lamar, when he runs, it's speed. He's more like a scat receiver catching the ball, and he's in open space when he gets the ball. It's a difference. See, when Cam runs out in the backfield, he's like a big running back running down the field. You know, with Lamar, it's like, oh, snaps. It's a freaking wide receiver back there with the football. We all down here in pass coverage. Now he's taking off. You know, it's a difference. But Justin has both of those factors, which makes him the best running quarterback in the game. And not only that, he's an accurate passer. He can make any throw, despite what any of you may think. I mean, he's not in the best situation to be able to show that. But look, like I said, Justin Fields, I'm just trying to let you know who am I who are my favorite teams, who is my favorite team, and my favorite players. So, like I said, favorite team is the Falcons. Favorite player is Justin Fields. My favorite running back and second favorite player is Saquon Barkley. In my opinion, he is the best running back in the league. Now, I said Justin Fields and Saquon Barkley to let you all know, yes, I may be a little biased to them. Not to the extreme as far as Skip when he's talking about the Cowboys and whatnot. If they F up, I'm going to let you know they F'd up. But I just want to put that out there that those are my guys. And feel free to, when my guys mess up, you hit me up and say, what's up with your boy Saquon, man? 5 yards, man. 20 yards. No touchdown. What's up? Well, what's up with your boy Justin, man? 30 years. It's supposed to be the jump. Got DJ Moore. What he doing? Just lost. What he doing? You know, it's cool. But without further ado, let's get into the game. The first game that I want to speak on is the game from last night. It's the game that's fresh in everybody's mind the most, between the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets. Now, when you see me looking down, I'm either looking at my phone, looking at stats and whatnot that I like to keep at my moments close to me so I can explain why I have the feelings that I have, and also my notes that I have taken when I watched the highlights and when I was watching the games that I took on myself, that I am ready to have prepared to talk to you about. So with the Bills and the Jets, let's talk about the main thing, because it's pretty much the story of the whole week. It's trumped everything. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt in the first drive. Wow, that's a major hit for the league. It really is. I'm disappointed myself, because I was really interested to seeing him play for the New York Jets. I really was. The Jets haven't been to the playoffs in over 12 years? You know, that's rough. That's really rough for a fan base, especially when the Giants have won, 2 Super Bowls in that span, right? Beat Tom Brady twice, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know if I'm wrong. I believe the Giants have won 2 Super Bowls in that span as well. So it's tough for Jets fans. I get it. They finally get their savior. They finally get their quarterback, especially after a year where they felt like, man, we got a squad. That defense last year was lights out, but they felt like they were let down by their quarterback, Zach Wilson. He was very immature last year. So with Aaron Rodgers coming in, the team had very high expectations. They're looking to be Super Bowl contender. They're not just thinking about making the playoffs. They're talking about being in Vegas on Super Bowl Sunday. And with Aaron Rodgers, it's not far-fetched. That defense is incredible. It's incredible. They showed you that last night. When Aaron Rodgers went down, they could have the whole – Xavier Gibson said in the interview that the entire team's energy went down. And the defense could have very, 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 very much easily just gave in. They could have gave up, but they didn't. They rose to the occasion as they should have, because even with Aaron Rodgers, the main talk in Hard Knocks, in my opinion, when they were talking about the defensive line, how stacked they are, and they're great. But the defense as a whole, that defense is definitely Super Bowl caliber, and they showed it last night. They really galvanized the troops. I understand Garrett Wilson, after the game, the interview, he said that Zach Wilson really stepped up to the plate in halftime and really took that extra step forward, being a leading quarterback. But the defense won this game. You know, some of you may say Josh Allen lost the game. But, hey, I'm going to get to the Buffalo Bills. We're talking about the Jets right now. But that defense won that game. They forced 4 turnovers, 3 picks by Jordan Whitehead, and then also another fumble force in key situation. 2 of those picks were in the red zone. 2 lob passes by Josh Allen trying to score were a pick. And the third one was really bad. He was trying to push it inside of a tight hole. That was a really bad decision. Josh Allen was really all over the place last night. But Quincy Williams, brother, he was flying over the field. This man had 10 tackles. 9 of them were solo. But he didn't lead the team in tackles. DJ Reed did, because they were attacking him. He's the other corner on the other side of Sauce. Of course, anytime you're a corner and your name isn't as big as the corner on the other side, you're going to be attacked, and you're going to have to come to play. And he did not disappoint. I mean, he did not run from the challenge. He did not panic. He did not get killed. He did not cost his team the game. He held his own. Unfortunately, the great display of team camaraderie by the Jets is ruined by the just devastating news about Aaron Rodgers. My opinion, I think he tore his Achilles. I really do. And it's unfortunate. And if he tore his Achilles, it might be safe to say he's going to hang it up. He's closer to 40 than 30. This is his first team outside of Green Bay. In the offseason, it seemed like he was already contemplating retirement. I don't know if that was a part of his little game to try to get leverage over the Packers or whatnot. I don't know. But he definitely was contemplating retirement already as it was. With this injury, it's not going to look good. So all you Jets fans, I feel for you. Hang in there. The good thing about it is Zach Wilson looked a lot better than he did last year. I understand that he came in the middle of the game. Buffalo did not have a game plan for him, and that matters. However, he showed maturity that he didn't show last year, and his team responded to him well. And he made necessary throws, and he made plays when he needed to make the plays. He targeted Garrett Wilson 5 times, and he's a stud. He caught it 5 times. You know, if you throw it over there, he's going to catch it. And that amazing, amazing catch that he had in the end zone when he had the Giants defender holding him off with his left hand, and with the right arm, he tapped the ball. He stopped the ball's momentum from keeping going, so it stopped. Tapped it in the air with the right arm, then fell to the ground and still holding the other defender off with the left hand. Grab it with the right hand while he's falling to the ground in the 4th quarter. Yo, that's clutch. That's clutch. Jets got one. The New York Jets got one. I believe they already knew that, but that kid is box office. There's been some talks this morning about them calling Tom Brady. Don't do that. Don't do that. Carson Wentz, don't do that. They don't need to call or bring in any retired or any vet that doesn't have a team to be their quarterback. My opinion, if Aaron Rodgers can't go, they need to play Zach Wilson. If he's your quarterback of the future, he needs to play. He needs to play. And if you don't know if he's your quarterback of the future, he needs to play, because you need to know. I mean, it wasn't your intentions. I get it. It wasn't your plan to play him right now. You wanted him to sit behind Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers hurt. You got to go with the flow. You got to go with the punches. If they bring in another vet over this kid, he's done. They're going to have to trade him off. He won't be able to play there again. He's going to have to move on. Now, the Jets won the game. Xavier Gibson had a great punt return, walk-off punt return to win the game. That was awesome. I saw that live. I was sitting right there in the break. I was like, ooh, he finna take it to the house. When he made that first move, it was over. It was out of there. Now let's talk about the Bills. The Buffalo Bills. Wow. Oh, man. Josh Allen, he lost the game. He did. Those 4 turnovers really killed him because they won the time of possession. They won the time of possession. They won the passing game yards. They had way more first downs. And they ran way more plays. 68-53. But those turnovers, you can't turn over the ball 4 times, man, and think you're going to win a game. Without those 4 turnovers, Buffalo absolutely wins the game. Like, absolutely wins the game. I know I just praised the Jets defense, but now, on the other hand, I'm saying Josh Allen lost the game. No, that doesn't discredit what the Jets did. They still have to make the plays. Even though he may have put the ball up there, but at the end of the day, the defense player still has to catch the ball and make the play. He has to be aware of what's going on. He has to be paying attention and get the pick. And Whitehead got 3 of them. Number 3 got number 3. So, but the Bills, quite honestly, I think they'll be fine. I don't think that Bills fans should panic. Now, Josh Allen is showing a pattern of turning over the ball in big games or in key situations is costing the team. But what I like about it is that he's taking accountability. He's owning it. When a man takes accountability, he acknowledges something, whatever that may be. That's the first step to improving it. The worst thing you could do is be in denial about, oh, no, I'm good, I'm straight, I don't really need that. No, he owned it. In the interview, he said, same shit, different story. Same shit, different days. Something in that matter, he said. And he said, the reporter asked him to elaborate. And he did. He said, I lost us the game. And it sucks because it seems like I keep doing this to the team, and I hate that. And he's right. But with him having that attitude, them being such a great team as they are, we know they'll figure it out. They'll still be okay. They still will be in that fight in the end of the year to be a Super Bowl contender. That division is very tough, and we're going to get into that. But if you're a Bills fan, don't think too much. Don't be too low about the game. It's game 1. Yeah, it's a tough loss. You should have won that game with Aaron Rodgers getting hurt in the first drive. Yeah, y'all supposed to win that. But you did it because even though you're supposed to, because that's devastating for a starting quarterback to be hurt on the first drive, hey, the Jets answered the bell like they're supposed to. They rallied around one another, and they came out with the win. Salute to them. Now, let's go to the next game. The Sunday night game between the Cowboys and the Giants. Wow. So, this would be a time on Undisputed where Skip would be just going hooping and hollering OD about the Cowboys. Or this would be a time where Stephen A would just be trashing them. That defense was great, man. I ain't got nothing negative to say about the Cowboys. Like, hey, they played great, man. That defense was flying. They had 7 sacks, 10 tackles for a loss, 8 pass deflections, 12 quarterback hits, and they had 2 touchdowns. Not to mention they had a block punt and took it to the crib. Trayvon Diggs, that hit he made on Saquon, that hurt me because that was my boy. I'm like, hey, yo, but Trayvon, when you start doing stuff like that, like that hurt. But the Cowboys was phenomenal. That was a great game by them. I understand that people want to talk about the offense, but to me, the offense really didn't show me anything spectacular. They didn't have to. They were up by a lot. They were up 16-0 in the first quarter. Then they scored another 10 in the second quarter. So they really kind of pretty much were in safe mode with their play calls. They definitely have a lot more in that playbook to call. So next week and years in the future, not years, weeks in the future, you're definitely still going to see a lot more from that team. So I don't have too much to say about Dak. He was 13 for 24 with a buck 43. He didn't have a touchdown, but he didn't have a pick as well. I was impressed though with Tony Pollard because I wasn't all the way sold on him. I personally felt like the Cowboys should have found a way to retain Zeke at a lower price. By no means should they have still been paying him that big contract that he got when he was actually good. When he was actually great. But I felt like last year Tony Pollard was really successful because of Zeke. Zeke started the game, starting with that pounding. This big guy, he coming straight up with this force, and then out of nowhere, this fast scat back who's exploding through the hole, and then once he gets through the hole, he putting on another gear. That's hard for a defense to keep under wraps. It's hard for a defense to deal with for a whole game. Like, wow. Like, we dealing with this big joker. Now we got this other guy coming in. He's right past us. Now it's different mindset. That's how he was able to get 1,000 yards. And he had the fewest amount of carries to get to 1,000 yards in the league. That doesn't happen without Zeke. However, last night he was the main guy. He only had the ball 14 times, but he also caught 2 catches. So they're going to probably try to use him the same way San Fran uses Christian McCaffrey because they feel like he has that same skill set. But yeah, Tony Pollard, he showed me some explosion through those holes. He showed me that maybe he can be the Cowboys' every down back. So he's somebody who I'm definitely going to continue to pay attention to. The running back position is definitely the position that I pay attention to the most. That's the position that I played in high school where I played running back and fullback. My entire life, I always wanted to be a running back. When Little League, I played quarterback. I didn't want to play quarterback. I wanted to be the running back. I always wanted to be Eddie George, Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders, Reggie Bush. I always wanted to be the guy who you hand the ball off to, and I'm making the whole crowd go crazy. Unfortunately, I wasn't good enough to be any of those guys. But I still watch the position with a close eye, and I have a different perspective of it. So, no, I'm not a running back expert now. Like I said, like in the beginning of the show, I'm no expert. But Tony Pollard, yeah, he seems like a good back. He had 2 touchdowns as well. Dallas is going to be really good. That is going to be really good. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, they got a good receiving core. But like I said, that defense was really what won that game. That was really amazing football by that defense. They was flying, but we already knew that about them. We already knew that. Mika, Lawrence, Gilmore, Trey, those linebackers in the middle. Clark had a great game after not being able. Damon Clark, he had a great game. They stacked. So, but if I'm the Cowboys fans, the Cowboys going to do what they do. They get happy. They win one game, and they say they're going to win a Super Bowl. They need to pump the brakes. I don't really feel like they're going to win the Super Bowl, quite frankly. The Cowboys, this is not a shot at them, but they always find a way to lose. They always find a way to lose. They always find a way to lose their momentum right before the playoffs, and then once they get in the playoffs, they find a way to lose. I know it's because of, I don't know, but my opinion is Jerry Jones and all the extra foolishness that comes with the Dallas Cowboys is part of why they won't win a Super Bowl while he is still the owner. And basically that means while he's still alive, because he ain't giving that team up. I don't feel like the Cowboys will ever win another Super Bowl until Jerry Jones is no longer the owner, because he's doing way too much. The GM can't, well, he is the GM. The coach can't be the coach. The players can't. The players got to deal with the owner saying foolishness out of nowhere. It's just, to me, the Cowboys is just a lot going on. And until Jerry Jones get the F out the way, they're not winning the Super Bowl. And unfortunately, they mean they're not going to win it this year, in my opinion. So this is going to be Dak's last year with the Cowboys. And I don't think it's Dak's fault. Dak is a good quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised if Dak was to go to another team next year and have the best season of his career. I would not be surprised. Some of you may say, well, then get him out of Dallas then. He ain't a great quarterback. He should be able to deal with the pressure. I mean, you can say that, but are you right? Is that fair? Nah, bro. Dak is a very capable quarterback. Now to the Giants. I was never really high on the Giants. I feel like they picked the wrong person to pay in the offseason. I'm not being biased. They chose to pay Daniel Jones that massive contract to keep him, but did not re-sign Saquon to a long-term deal. I feel like moves like that is what keeps organizations as losing organizations. And it's tough to say because rebuilding is not easy. Like, there's no perfect way to rebuild to come to replace a Hall of Fame quarterback like Eli Manning. There's no textbook or roadmap on how to do that. But Daniel Jones is a good quarterback, but he's not, in my opinion, a franchise quarterback. He's a bridge quarterback. He's a quarterback that can fulfill the position, be in the spot until they're able to find somebody else that can get it done, that can take them to the promised land. Because in my opinion, he's just not that guy. He's not that accurate. I mean, he's athletic, but he doesn't really have the necessary athletic skill players around him to make up for his average ability and for his average skills, if you will. When a quarterback isn't that great, he needs great pieces around him. All he has is Saquon Barkley. Darren Waller, it seems like he's not the same as he was when he was having those high productive years with the Raiders. Sterling Shepard is a great receiver, but he always gets hurt. He didn't necessarily have a big game last night. But hey, the Giants, they should just throw that game away. I don't think that they should get too down on it. Because even though I was kind of hard on Daniel Jones, he's not the player that keeps that train rolling. That defense of the Giants in the running game with him and Saquon, Daniel and Saquon, was the key to their success last year. And with that defense giving up so many points, the offense isn't really designed to have those type of games. So if I'm the Giants, throw the game away. Y'all lost the game at the line of scrimmage. It happens. Chalk that up as an L. Week 1, it's ugly. The good part about it, y'all can't get no worse than that, man. So that's why I say, keep y'all heads up. All right. Now let's go to the next game after that. We're going to talk about the Rams and the Seahawks. First thing that was funny as hell, said Geno Smith saying, "Oh my God," when he saw Aaron Donald coming up the middle to hit him. That was funny. I've never heard that in the game before. Oh my God. That was funny. The Rams got the victory, 30-13. With a very decent game by Matthew Stafford. He went 24 for 38, 334. He doesn't really have great weapons around him, so that's why I'm very impressed with what he was able to do, how they were able to win this game. They ran the ball 40 times, which is good. Even though they didn't get over 100 yards, it got 92. And the fact that they ran it 40 times, it kept Seattle honest. They couldn't just key in on stopping Matthew Stafford from throwing the ball to his receivers. They had to honor that game. They had to honor it because they were doing it. They didn't stray away from it. And that is really key. They didn't have a lot of yards, but Kyron Williams had 2 touchdowns and Cam Akers had another. So Sean McVay called a good game with the pieces that he had. And that defense, of course, Aaron Donald did his thing. He only had 2 solo tackles, a half a sack. He didn't have a tackle for loss, but with Aaron Donald being a defensive tackle and a nose guard, really a defensive tackle, he plays all over that line of scrimmage in that 3-4 scheme. So, but because he's an interior lineman primarily, those guys aren't necessarily always going to be the guys getting the tackles or the sacks. That's why guys like him and J.J. Watt were so impressive. Like, because getting sacks in that interior position at that level, at that quantity, isn't normal. Because those guys in the 3-4, their primary job is to really hold as many offensive linemen as possible, to take up as many bodies as possible, to keep the linebackers free to make plays, so the outside linebackers can rush the quarterback and get to the quarter, can rush the quarterback and get sacks, and so the middle linebackers can either make the read that it's a run play and run downhill quickly to get that tackle, or to step back and get inside the passing lanes. But so with that being said, Aaron Donald, his stats aren't that great, but he anytime the Rams win, he's a major part of it. He is almost the part of it. So sometimes this is when the stats don't always tell the full story. This is why I have my notes and my stats here with me while I'm talking to you all, because the stats, you got to have context with them. Sometimes you can't just look at the box score and say, dang, that's why they lost. So you just have to watch it alongside with the highlights and talk about it a little bit. So, but I will say the Rams, they have a rookie receiver that was killing them. I hope I say his name right. Puka Nacua was his favorite target, rookie. He had 10 catches for $119, 15 targets. Stat kept throwing at him. Stafford trusts this kid. So if you don't have him on your fantasy football team, you might want to pick him up, because it seems like he's going to be Matthew Stafford's #1 target. After him, the next receiver was Tutu Atwell. He had 6 catches for $119. Like I said, they don't have any big name receivers, and they don't have any big name running backs. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that team does. I think it's very good that they got a win against the Seattle Seahawks, a team that I do think is good. But I feel like Seattle lost this game. They were playing way too conservative. Geno Smith was 16 for 26 for $112, but his average throw was 4 yards. You're not going to win it. Them not pushing the ball downfield with these weapons, I don't understand it. You have DK Metcalf, which is a 6'4" beast who runs a 4.4, and Jackson Smith Njigba, who is also a burner. Tyler Lockett, who is one of the best slot receivers in the game. Why are y'all not attacking the field? Downfield. Y'all have an amazing running back. Kenneth Walker III, and he's an amazing running back. Great kid. He only had the ball 12 times. They only had a total of 18 rushes. That has to be more. It just seems like their offense did not have a good play calling scheme. I feel like that is why they lost the game, because when I look at the box score, not the box score, when I look at the score chart, it was 7-3 at the end of the first quarter. There was no reason for them to still be so timid. They weren't like they were really far behind in the game. But then after that, in the second quarter, they scored 10 points and went into halftime with a 13-7 lead. And they got goose-egged in the whole second half. That, in my opinion, sometimes a coach, I don't necessarily think a coach is the reason that, they won the game because of that coach. He did an amazing job of scheming up people open. And a coach ain't going to win the game, but coaching staff can definitely lose the damn game. Outthinking themselves, outcoaching themselves, getting in the way of the players, not allowing them to be themselves and do their thing on the field. And I think that this was a situation like that for Seattle. They got to trust Geno more. They didn't push the ball downfield, and they got to give it to Kenneth Walker III more. He's a great kid. He should be top 5 in rushing. If he's top 5 in rushing attempts, Seattle would most definitely probably be a playoff team again. The division isn't strong at all. The Rams, even though they just lost to them, aren't strong. Like I said, they don't really have any names that stick out. They just have they have a decent defense. Arizona is rebuilding. I personally feel like they're in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. And then the 49ers are the 49ers. So the 49ers are definitely going to win a division. But if Seattle can play similar to how they did last year, Geno can play like he did last year and not like he did in week 1, I really think that Seattle will be okay. I think that once they watch this film, the coaching staff will realize that they were calling a little bit timid, and then they got to trust their quarterback more, and they got to push the ball downfield. And Seattle will be fine. They're going to be competitive. They're not going to be a team that is going to be losing these games to lesser teams, I feel like, continuously. If it is, it will be a surprise to me. Now let's go on to the next game. The next game is Packers versus the Bears. My boy Justin. Hey, man. They got to give my boy Justin an offensive line and a whole new coaching staff. Matter of fact, just trade my boy. Just trade him. I don't even care. I don't care. Just trade my boy. Get him up out of there. Because, let me calm down. It's my boy, man. It ain't making him look trash. Oh my gosh. All right. The whole first quarter, they were calling plays just to get a couple yards here, dinks and dimes. They're just like Seattle, not pushing the ball downfield. You're gonna notice that a common theme in these games that I'm talking about, the teams that lose, most of the time they weren't being aggressive downfield. I've noticed in the NFL that, yes, it has to be like a perfect balance. You gotta make the defense honor your run game. You don't necessarily have to have a great running back. You don't necessarily have to have a running back rushing for $150 every game, or at least $1 every game. But if you have one of those, you better keep them because that's priceless. But if you have guys that you can give the ball to, if you can rush the ball at least 25 times, hopefully more than that, if you can give those guys carries and make them honor the game, if you can split those carries up to 2-3 guys, it don't even matter. You can even use a quarterback. But you got to make those linebackers have to do what the fuck they're supposed to do, which is when that ball snaps, their first step is forward. But if you just don't run the ball, their first step is backwards in the passing lanes. You can't have that. You cannot have that. You need to make those defensive players have to think as much as possible. You don't want to simplify anything for them. You want to make it you want to make it so that it's so much going on that they had a blown coverage. Like, man, I didn't see that on film. That is what you need to do. And Chicago's playbook and their scheme is just too vanilla. It's just too regular. It's too basic. It's like they don't trust Justin. If you don't trust him, then why did you trade up to get him? You could have just let my boy fall. He could have went to somewhere else. He would have went to a more complete team, because the further you fall in the draft, the better team you're going to go to, which means he would have been in a better situation, similar to Patrick Mahomes getting drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs, and unlike Joe Burrow getting drafted by the Bengals. Let you think on that. So anyway, I don't want to talk too much about the Bears because that was awful, man. They should be ashamed of the product that they put on the field. Let's say the coaching staff, like, man, the whole culture in I'll say the third quarter, when it seemed like the game was getting away from them, the Fox camera went towards the Chicago sideline and kind of like did a full scan, basically, of the whole bench. And each face on the Chicago bench was just blow. It was just blow. Just blow. And if you're not from Savannah, blow just mean I'm upset, can't believe this, I'm pissed off, etc., etc. So it was just blow. It was blow because they had been working all offseason. They had all this hype. You know, Justin's supposed to take this big leap, that they got this new wide receiver, and they didn't even throw this man the ball. 2 targets. 2 targets, 2 catches for 25 yards. Come on, man. It's not going to cut it. You can't blame that all on Justin. They have to find a better way to scheme this man open, to push this man downfield. They got to give Justin some support. All right, but let's talk about the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love, he looked very comfortable. He looked like a quarterback that had been in the league sitting behind MVP. 15 for 27 for 245, 3 touchdowns. Hey, he did his thing, man. Green Bay is a problem for that division. It's not going to be easy for Minnesota. And even though everybody wants Detroit to take that step, Green Bay is basically the same team that they were with Aaron Rodgers. They just took out Aaron Rodgers, but they didn't take such a big hit at the quarterback position or a big dip of production because that guy was sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for 2-3 seasons. You know, you can't really overlook that. That's a big deal. This kid ready. And he looked every bit of the part. He stood tall in the pocket. He made some very good throws. I was very impressed. I'm not ready to call him some great quarterback. I'm not ready to say no Aaron Rodgers, no problem for the Packers. I'm not ready to say that. It's just week 1 and we played against the Chicago Bears, who I just got done ripping apart because they're an awful team. And I want Justin to be traded immediately. The Packers, they all right. They okay. Aaron Jones is a stud. Aaron Jones is the guy on that team. They have to get him at least 20, 25 touches a game. It doesn't have to just primarily be as a running back because he is good at catching out of the backfield as anybody else in the league. Aaron Jones is their guy. He's definitely somebody who should be picking up on your fantasy football team because the amount of touches that he's going to get, his opportunities he's going to get to have big games and have big numbers is going to be a lot. Because they don't really have any other big weapons besides him. I know he shares carries with A.J. Dillon, but like I said, Aaron gets the ball and Aaron Jones gets the ball in other ways. So, and with that defense is still nasty. Devontae Campbell is still a tackling machine. And Rashawn Gary didn't have a single sack, my boy. Yeah, Rashawn Gary didn't really even have a big game, their best pass rusher. But they still, even though the score is 38-20, that was worse. That was a beatdown. Chicago fans, y'all should be worried. They were booing in the game, and they had every right to. Chicago fans, it's week 1, but hit the panic button. I want Justin to get traded. It's not going to end well for him there. I don't see him being able to be successful in that organization. And it's just disappointing because a quarterback getting drafted to the wrong team is career-breaking. Just could turn him into a career backup quarterback. And he's not that. He's not. It's disappointing. But I'm not going to harp too much on that because Justin Fields is my boy. Had he lost 38-12, the Packers, and it looked nice. So let's go to the next game. Philly versus the Patriots, the defending NFC champions. And a lot of people's picked to win the MVP this year, Jalen Hurts. They did not have the best game against the Patriots as they thought they would. I wasn't really expecting this game to be close either. The Patriots, since Tom Brady has left, to me, they haven't been very impressive. I know they made the playoffs Matt Jones' first year, but I just don't think that Bill Belichick is the great coach that we thought. I think he's being exposed. He has a chance to change that narrative this season. Let's see if he does. He got the team playing well yesterday. You know, he's primarily a defensive guy. The defense gave up 25 points, but it wasn't a easy 25 points. Philly wasn't just killing them. But Jalen Hurts did a great job of not turning over the football, and he hit his main guys. It was a close game, so he stuck with his guns. He gave AJ and Devontae both 10 targets. In that running game, they ran the ball 25 times. They got 97 yards. I'm telling you, the running back is being devalued, but that running game, you're not going to win a Super Bowl without a good running game, or at least being honest with it, attempting it, trying it. But then on top of that, if your running backs are just trash and they can't get any type of yards and that they can be stopped with just the front four or the front three, or if they can still, or they only have to keep one linebacker in the box and they can have the other ones drop back, then that defeats the purpose, and you might as well just pass the ball at that point. So having a running back, so it's not only just attempting to run, your running back got to be productive. You got to be productive. So Philly, I'm impressed, man. I think that defensive line, a lot of people think that defensive line is the best in football. I mean, looking at these names, Jalen Carter, Brandon Graham, Jordan Davis. I know that Riddick is a linebacker, but in passing situations, he lines up as an end rusher, and he's one of the best in the league at getting to the quarterback. Last year, they led the league in sacks, almost broke a record for team sacks. I expect a duplicate performance from the Eagles' defense this year. I think that Philly is definitely going to be a top contender in NFC, and if you're trying to go to the Super Bowl, you definitely going to have to see them. Definitely going to have to see them, and that's not going to be easy out. As you see, they can win the gritty games. They don't necessarily have to blow people out. 22 for 31 for $170 and a 1 touchdown pass for Jalen Hurts. Hey, it's good. Their defense, big play Slade with the pick six. That was a collective team win by Philly, and they showed that they can win any kind of way. Now with the New England Patriots, it seemed like it was more so of a celebration for Tom Brady. They had a little ceremony for him at halftime before the game started. He did his little, nigga. Nah, I don't like Tom Brady because I'm a Falcons fan. And if you know why, then you know why. You don't need to say it. You don't got to say it. I don't want to hear no 2. I don't want to hear no 8. And I don't want to hear no damn 3. So I just don't like Tom Brady. So leave it at that. So, the Patriots, Matt Jones seems like he was more comfortable. He threw the ball 54 times. You can't win that way. You can't win like that. You can't win like that at all. Ezekiel Elliott, 7 carries for 29 yards. Hey, that's rough. Zeke looking like Todd Gurley right now. That's the last time I saw a running back fall off so fast to go from being the best back in the league all the way to bruh, you barely productive. And that's with me I'm saying this just after when I gave my Cowboys game breakdown, I said that I feel like they should have done something to keep him. Yes, because that 7 carries for 29 yards, that would have helped out the Cowboys. That would have helped out Tony Pollard. Because when Tony Pollard not in the game, have somebody in there just pounding him. They got to tackle his big ass. They got to. That's going to help. So that would help Tony get out there and blow past these guys because they too low key tired and pounding and hitting this big joker. But Patriots, look, Belichick is trying to do that same formula he did with Tom Brady, not paying big guys, not bringing in big names. He's trying to do it in-house. He thinks he's trying to do it with guys that really other teams probably wouldn't even want, not all of them. But that formula for success is not going to happen unless you have a quarterback like Tom Brady, and he does not have a quarterback like Tom Brady. So I don't see the Patriots being successful anytime soon, especially not in that division where they got to deal with the Bills and the Dolphins and the Jets. I know we don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers, but still that defense. I don't think that the Patriots will beat the Jets, even with Zach Wilson at quarterback. The only reason they won. I can't speak on both of the games last year, but I remember the game where they won 10-3. They won that off a punt return, and they won that game because Zach Wilson just was awful. Awful, awful, awful. Awful, awful, awful. So, Patriots fans, hey, y'all had y'all time. Y'all move out the way and let some other teams win some championships. For real, for a change. Y'all had y'all chance. Move out the way. So let's move to the next game. My opinion, the game of the week, Dolphins versus Chargers. Tyreek Hill, cheetah. Good Lord. Goodness gracious. Hey, man. That's not fair. His speed is not fair. It's just not fair. I used to always think that, boy, I'm fast. I'm big, but I'm fast. I used to take pride in racing random people at jobs because they be talking trash like, hey, bro, I'm this, that. I'm like, bro, you're not athletic, bro. You ain't about that. But I'll burn you right now. And people, when you look at me, man, what about burn you, big? But big, but burn you, boy. But let go, boy. Well, you can't do nothing, boy. But watch out, I'm finna burn any, boy. All right. No, I'm not the fastest guy in the world, but no, but I used to have a little speed. I used to beat guys, but when I was in the Army, we had enforced towards some type of event through the week. Every company, they were having different types of competitions. There was a basketball tournament, a flag football tournament, weightlifting competition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, almost like a big field day for the whole entire post. I wanted to participate in the track meet because I thought I was fast. Bruh, I learned the hard way. Track speed, football speed, they don't compare. They don't compare. It's two totally different things. Needless to say, I made a fool of myself. Stood up straight out the block. And, you know, as soon as I stood up out the block, my whole hamstring gave way. And oh, Lord. Then I still had to run the 100 meters. I'm like, nah, bro, this ain't me. So, yes, I embarrassed myself. But I say that story because Tyreek Hill is a 100-meter track gold medalist playing in the NFL. Point blank, period. This man could be the fastest man in the world. If that was really what he was trying to do, if that was really what he was about, bro, he would be the fastest man in the world. I believe that. Bottom of my heart. He would be. And it would be a feat because usually 100 meters guys are big, strong guys. I know Usain was taller than normal, but this man here, boy, he yoked. And he has his speed, and it's not just straight line. It's not like you can just hit him and all of a sudden, nah, he ain't running fast. Nah, bro, he is a football player first. Then he is a world-class track star on the football field. It's amazing. It's amazing. It really is. But like I said, it was the game of the week. That man, Tua Tagovailoa. Hey, I knew he was special at Alabama, and the knock on him in the NFL has been his lack of arm strength. It's been his vulnerability to be hurt. People are calling him soft. I don't think that that's fair. He's definitely not soft. He's definitely not small. I've never seen a small Polynesian, excuse me if I said it wrong, or anyone from Hawaii. I've Samoan, Polynesian. Somebody in the comments, please let me know what is the correct term I'm supposed to be saying. I've never seen any one of them small. They like that. He's solid. He's stout. His headache, his concussions, in my opinion, was just freak injuries. Apparently they got him a new helmet or whatnot. But Miami has made the perfect team around Tua. They basically made a replica of the Alabama team he had. Fast, quick, elusive wide receivers who can run great routes. Give them the ball quick and let them make plays. But then also lulling them to sleep with these short dinky and dimes, but hit you downfield with a big bomb because you've been lulled to sleep with these dinks and dimes, because these dinks and dimes are killing you because they catching them and taking it downfield 20 yards. Tyreek Hill just had an amazing game, man. 11 catches for 215. He got targeted 15 times. That's That's efficient, man. Two tutties. His longest was a 47, basically a 50-yarder. Jalen Waddle, 4 catches for 75 yards, but 78. But his average was 20 yards. Both of them, him and Tyreek, average catch yards was 20. Like I said earlier, pushing the ball downfield. Miami is going to be a tough out every single week for that purpose alone. The fact that they are aggressively pushing the ball downfield, they're not playing timid. They could very easily say, "Oh, Tua's arm isn't strong, so we're not going to trust him. We're not going to throw it downfield, bro." For what? Why? If you can't do that, then get him out the game. You have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, the fastest 2 receivers in the league. They are receivers. They are the fastest 2 receivers in the league. Not to mention, they have Braxton Berrios in the slot, who was also a burner. I'm happy to finally see him get an opportunity to play. He's been a perennial bench player his entire career so far. He's a nice little short white guy with some speed and elusiveness who reminds me a little bit of Wes Welker. You know, he's a burner. Then in the backfield, they got Raheem Mostert, who was probably still the fastest running back in the league. Like, they just put speed around the Dolphins. When you play against the Dolphins, be prepared to see them going up and down the field on your team. And if your team can't answer the same way that the Chargers did, it's going to be ugly. You might not even want to watch that game. With that being said, let me go on to the Chargers end. And Mac and Bosa, did they play? Like, did they play? Like, bruh, they got to be better than that. They cannot both have goose eggs. No sacks, 0 sacks, and only 2 quarterback hits the entire game. For the whole defense. Tua wasn't touched. And they didn't even have a starting left tackle. Armstead is all pro. I don't understand with the Chargers. I don't. They have the players. They have the names. They have excuse me. They got the O-line. They have the quarterback. They got the receivers. Offense. Check. Defense. They got the D-line. They got the linebackers. They got the secondary. Check. But and this is not new. They've done a good job of building this franchise up since they moved to LA. But in my opinion, the Chargers are basically the AFC version of the Dallas Cowboys. They find a way to lose the game. Hello? Nah, I ain't gonna go into some Herman Edwards. But they find a way. They find a way to lose the game. They find a way to lose the game all the time. I'm not going to go all the way back to last year, talk about that playoff game. I just did. So, but Justin is a great quarterback, man. He got all the skills. He got all the tools. He does. And he didn't necessarily play awful. 23 for 33 for a touchdown. Austin Eckler, that's another running back who was a beast. If you don't got him on your fantasy team, but you tripping, you need to go ahead and pick him up ASAP. Because this is a contract year for him. He wanted it to get paid this offseason. He asked for a trade, but he didn't get it. So, hey, he going to be running like his pants is on fire. Trust me. Please believe. That offense, the Chargers offense did not let them down. That defense, of course, they gave up 36 points. But hey, when the Dolphins score that many points on you, in my opinion, you kind of got to let that pass because they might be the highest scoring team in the league this year. And you can write that to the bank. They're going to be top 3, top 5 scoring in the league. Points per game. Easily. And they may lead the league in total yards. Tyreek is going to lead the league in yards. So that means Tua may have an MVP season because of the numbers that he's going to have from throwing to these great speed demons on the side. Like I said, that was the game of the week. Awesome. The Chargers, defense has to play better. I think they will because, like I said, they have the names. That offense continue doing what they're doing. Justin Herbert, he had a great game. He went toe to toe with Tua. It's just that Tua had more pieces, more players around him that made game-winning plays to win the game. And the defense came up with his defense came up with 3 sacks. Tua's defense came up with 3 sacks. And that made a difference. So let's move on to the Raiders and the Broncos. The Raiders and the Broncos. Sean Payton's first game as head coach of the Denver Broncos. With Russell Wilson. Russell was 27 for 34 for a $177. Like, here we go again. Not pushing the ball downfield. 5-yard average. Maybe it's not so much of the schemes of these guys. It could possibly be that these teams are locking these receivers down and they can't get open downfield. But I doubt it. The coaches, I doubt it. I doubt it. It's some great defenders, great coverages, great defense in this league, but for you to not push the ball downfield at all, and throwing the deep ball was always one of Russell's strong suits. Him scrambling and him throwing the deep ball was one of his better attributes. And he's not using it. But like I say, the game was very close. Vegas ended up pulling it out 17-16. Denver started the game with an onside kick. Sean Payton, he bopped it. So Sean Payton is definitely going to have success with Denver. With the question is Russell Wilson going to be the quarterback he has that success with? That's yet to be seen. I still believe in Russell, but that's not so much of what he's showing me on the field. That's just me trying to be nice, because I think he's a nice guy. So I want to see him do well. But if I'm talking about what I've seen on the field, he looking kind of washed and looking like a situation where I thought the grass was greener on the other side, but it wasn't. He should have stayed in Seattle, but he didn't. He's in Denver and he's being exposed. I think that a lot of these guys sometimes they chase a bag and they let the bag get in the way of them paying attention to other things that matter when you're deciding what team to go to. Scheme, personnel, coaches, defense. It's more factors that I think that these guys should be looking at when they're talking about picking a team. I know he was traded, but when he was traded, he immediately signed an extension. So he didn't have to do that. So he was okay with the trade, obviously. He's just being exposed, and I don't see him getting it together anytime soon. Especially with Sean Payton making that comment in the offseason, stop kissing babies, you're not running for political office. Sean don't like him. He doesn't feel like he's real. Sean is like a lot of other men. He just don't feel like he's authentic. He kind of doesn't act authentic. I think that Russell been putting on this good old boy quarterback image so long that I don't even think that he realized that it's whack and corny. I don't think he realized that it's corny. I don't think he could stop it. I think he's so in tune with being that perfect quarterback image, franchise quarterback, and answering those questions in a certain way that I don't even think that he can stop doing that if he wanted to. But Denver, they ran the ball great. They had Javonte Williams. They gave him the ball 13 times. He had 52 yards. Cortland Sutton, the best receiver, had a touchdown, but he only had 32 yards. I'm happy that they got Lil Jordan Humphreys on the team. I'm happy to finally see him on the team. There's a guy from Texas. He was good in college. I'm happy to see him persevere through the struggle, because every guy doesn't come straight into the league and pop. Every guy doesn't get drafted and pop. Every guy doesn't have the same path. Everybody doesn't. I'm just happy to see that young man finally make his way to the show, make his way to the game, and he actually did something good. He got a touchdown, and that's real big. Now on the Raiders, Jimmy G, 20 for 26. Yeah, he threw a pick, but really was not that bad of a game for them. He did really well. I'm impressed. I don't see the Vegas Raiders making the playoffs, but I don't see either of these teams making the playoffs. But Josh Jacobs, he kind of struggled, 19 carries for 48. I know he's better than that. I really feel like they need to give Zamir White the ball more. That'll help Josh Jacobs be more productive. When you have one stud running back, yeah, you need to feed him. But if you have another guy that you can spell him with that is not only good, but he's young, he's a dog. Zamir White, they need to utilize him more and give him some carries. I think they should at least give Zamir White 5-7 carries a game, or if maybe even 9, just to keep the defense off balance with who is it that they have in the backfield. It's always good to have more than one running back, especially when you have more than one that is actually really good. I'm not going to stay too much on that game. It was kind of not a game that I don't think a lot of us are really interested in like that. It kind of was a game that dragged on. It wasn't really exciting. But hey, NFL football and Josh Jacobs is exciting to see. And everybody wanted to see what Sean Payton and Russell Wilson was going to do. And I don't think they really answered any questions too much. I still think it's up for grabs what they're going to look like. So, we'll see. Now on to the next game, Cardinals versus the Commanders. Another game between two teams that are struggling, Commanders aren't necessarily, in my opinion, in a full rebuild, but they definitely still need a quarterback. I don't think that Sam Howell is the long-term answer for them, especially in that division. That division is tough. He won the game against the Cardinals, but is that really saying much? The Cardinals had Josh Dobbs starting. Josh Dobbs hasn't really been great since he played at Tennessee when he had that great Hail Mary against UGA and he broke my heart. He broke all of our hearts because why are we losing to Tennessee? To me, he's one of the main pieces that popped off Tennessee to where they are now. So beating the Cardinals isn't really saying much. However, the Cardinals defense, though, they was on it. They was swarming. 6 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. That was crazy. But Sam Howell was okay. 19 for 31, 202. The Cardinals defense played good enough to win the game, but that offense just not being able to be really productive, costing the game. Is you looking at this box score? Josh Dobbs, 24 for 30, $132, average 4 yards attempt. His number one receiver was his tight end with 6 catches, but he only had 21 yards. Rondale Moore had 33 yards. That was the highest yard total for any of his receivers. That's not going to cut it, especially when he's not that great of a quarterback. They got to support him a little bit more. I know that they're rebuilding. I think that the Cardinals are definitely in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes. But, hey, that's why I'm not going to really harp on them too much. But the Commanders, like I say, a lot of people say the Philly has the best defensive line, but Commanders' defensive line is just as good. I know Chase Young isn't back yet, but De'Aaron Payne, John Allen, Josh Allen, Montez Sweat. Those are some big boys down there. There's some beasts. When Chase Young come back, that's another problem that they got to deal with. Montez had a great game. Montez had a sack and a half and 2 tackles for loss. That's big time. Big time player, had a big time game. And also, Jonathan Allen going to do his thing. A tackle, a sack, and 2 tackles for loss. So, hey, Cardinals defense is good. The Commanders defense, the line is a key. It's a great starting block. I think that they need to continue to keep those guys together and build up that defense first. On offense, they have Terry McLaurin, On offense, they have Terry McLaurin, and at the running back position, they got Brian Robinson Jr., who was a good, strong runner from Alabama. I think that they're on the right track, but that quarterback position, they just need to get that together. If Sam Howell somehow becomes one of the best quarterbacks in the league, I'll be shocked. But I'm not going to spend too much on this game as well. Like I said, it was a game that nobody probably really was watching like that much, except for my little brother. Shout out, little bro. He's the only Cardinals fan that I know. Hang in there, little bruh. Yeah, it's going to be one of those seasons for you. Well, let's move on to, my opinion, the most impressive team was the 49ers. I know that the Dolphins, and Tua and Tyreek, they did great. I know the Dallas Cowboys won 40-0, but the San Francisco 49ers in this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, to my opinion, was more dominant than the Cowboys. Because the 49ers had to display their offense and their defense. In my opinion, with the Cowboys game, the defense dominated the game so much out the gate that the offense really didn't have to even touch the pedal to accelerate. So, the defense really won that game. The 49ers, I feel like, had a complete team dominating win. Christian McCaffrey, of course, you already know how he gonna do. He's him. Yeah, that's right. 22 carries for $152 and a tutty. Brandon Ayuk, 8 catches for $129, 8 targets. Deebo Samuel, 5. George Kittle, 3 catches for 19. Christian with another 3. All of their skill players played good. All of their skill players did their thing. And Brock Purdy, I ain't gonna hate on you, bro. He's not elite. I'm not gonna call him an elite quarterback, but that boy is very comfortable in that offense. He is very comfortable in that system. I know he was the last pick in the draft, but he should be very happy that he was the last pick in the draft because he fell to them. If he was anywhere else, I really doubt that he would be having this type of success because Kyle Shanahan is the best play caller in the league. He is, especially with the run game and scheming on how to use different types of ways to run the ball and getting his skill players the balls. I think that San Francisco is the best. They had the best game. They did. They had the best game. They showed the best performance. The defense was lights out. I know that the Pittsburgh offense isn't very well, but Drake Jackson, not even Nick Bosa, it was Drake. Drake Jackson had 3 sacks. Second-year player out of USC. They got a good defensive line too. Be worried, but we already know about the San Francisco defense. This might be the most complete defense in the league. And Pittsburgh isn't very good. Kenny Pickett, he's not the answer. I feel like he missed some good throws. He missed some key throws, He had 2 picks, 1 tutty. Najee couldn't really get anything going on the ground game. He only had 6 carries. They got behind and they had to abandon the run game. Kenny throwing 46 passes, that ain't going to be a recipe for them. But the thing about the Steelers is that Mike Tomlin is the best coach in the NFL, and they're going to compete. So this 30-7 loss isn't something that is going to be normal for them. Mike Tomlin is definitely going to button this up and get everything straightened out with them. 30-7, Pittsburgh fans, it's ugly, but wipe that under the rug. It was week 1. I think that even though Kenny had a bad game, I don't think that he's a long-term answer. I don't think he's this bad. I think he's still better than that. And I think with Mike Tomlin and that coaching staff and that coaching scheme and that team and that culture, that if Kenny Pickett can just play decent, they can be very competitive. The 49ers, that TJ Watt had 3 sacks for Pittsburgh. So, Pittsburgh will be fine. I know Cameron Hayward got hurt. They're going to get the news on him pretty soon. Hopefully he's not out for too long because they need him in that interior. He's one of the best interior linemen in the league. And one of the best leaders in the league. And having leaders in your locker room is major key. It's a major key. Now, San Fran with that major win, that was good. Now, let's go to the next game. Bear with me. We almost done. Again, this is the longest episode it's ever going to be because, one, I had to do the introduction to let you know about the why and the purpose of the show. And then this is week 1. Every team is playing this week. This is a lot of games. So, hey, bear with me. I appreciate you sticking with me. If you're still with me, in the comments, tell me who your favorite team is. Timestamp at minute and 20 seconds. Who's your favorite team? Let me know. If you still with me, interact with your boy. Let me know you're still watching. You're still there. Let me know your favorite team is, man. Where you from? Let me know who you repping. All right. Now to the Jaguars versus the Colts. Hey, Jaguars, that's how you build a team. That's how you have the worst team in the league, getting the number 1 pick, get the number 1 pick, draft a new quarterback, and build a team around him and turn that thing around. That's how you do that. Chicago, take notes. Because Trevor is doing what he has been doing since he was in Cartersville. Putting up numbers, putting in work, being the guy. He has the pieces. Now, the Jaguars were bad for so long that they were accumulating these top picks, and they were making good picks. They stacked that defense. Josh Allen was a monster. He had 3 sacks. 3 of them. He said, "I'm the real Josh Allen, not an old boy in Buffalo." And then on Trayvon Walker, the stud from UGA, number 1 pick from last season, he had another sack. The defense, and then Lucan used to play for the Falcons, is a tackle machine. He had led the team in tackles again with 12 total, with 8 solo. Look. And Josh Allen, not only did he have 3 sacks, he had 3 tackles for a loss. That Jaguars team is a Super Bowl contender. And I just mentioned the defense. I'm going to talk about the offense. Running back. Travis Etienne Jr. Beast. But this wide receiver core, Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and that tight end, they got Evan Ingram. Ridley went off a $101 and 8 catches. Zay had 5 catches for 55. Ingram had 5 catches for 49. Etienne had 5 catches for 27. And Kirk didn't even really get involved in the game like that. And he's a he's a good receiver in his own right. That is how you build a team after being awful. Salute to the Jaguars. They are legit Super Bowl contenders. Be very, very worried if your team is in the AFC, if you have to play the Jaguars in the playoffs. That's going to be a very tough out. Colts, I like what I saw with Richardson, man. I really do. I think that y'all got to steal in the draft with him. I think that he's going to be a great player if Frank Wright trusts him and continue to keep belief in him, and to don't be timid with the play calling. I don't think that they were very timid with the play calls. They let him run the ball 10 times, and he threw it 37. That is a recipe for a young quarterback to get better. You can't play timid with him. You got to put him in the game. Let him play. Let him make his mistakes and take his bumps and his bruises, and you have to live with it. It's not going to be a microwave success. It's not how it works with rookie quarterbacks. It's just not. Peyton Manning will have, 28 picks his first season? I hate to go all the way back to there, but it's just not very common for a rookie quarterback to come in and just be amazing right out the gate. So, but for some reason, coaches and teams and these analysts on ESPN, so-called analysts, be saying that, well, he's not quite ready yet. You got to put him in the game. That's the only way he's going to get ready, especially if you take a quarterback in the first round. Even more if you take him in the top 10, he need to be playing day one. But other than that, Colts are a good team. They need Jonathan Taylor back. They had Jonathan Taylor, that would have really been a difference maker in this game for them, because A-Rich had 10 carries for 40 yards, and the next leading rusher after that was a guy named Deion Jackson, who I've never heard of, and he had 13 carries for 14 yards, and that ain't gonna do it. 14 carries for 13 yards. Nah, that's not okay. So that running back position was a real problem for them. So hopefully that front office will do like Kansas City did with Chris Jones and realize, hey, we need Jonathan Taylor. Hey, bro, whatever, like, we need you back, bro, because they're not going to be successful without Jonathan Taylor. And they need him alongside Anthony Richardson to help Anthony Richardson continue to progress in a higher rate to be very successful in this league. Let's move on to Titans and the Saints. Titans versus Saints. I think Derrick Henry looked pretty good. I think he had 15 carries for 63 yards. D-Hop had 7 catches for 65 yards. He got targeted 13 times. The defense did enough to win. They had 4 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, 7 tackles for a loss, 77 total team tackles, and 48. Like, that's really good defensive stats. They did a really good job. The defense for the Titans did enough to win the game. I just think that the Saints willed this game out. The Saints really willed this game out. Don't look for me. Don't look for me to say too much great things about the Saints. But I will tell you, they definitely have a good receiving core. Olave, Thomas, Rashid, Shaheed. And they have 2 good tight ends, Juwan Johnson and Jimmy Graham. The OG came back. DeMario Davis is a tackling machine. The defense of the Saints is stacked. That's my division arch rival. They look nice. I think Derek Carr has one of the most beautiful arm throwing motions in the league. I really do. I could sit there and watch him throw the ball all game, especially if he's throwing it to Falcons players. I could see him do that all. I could see him do that all game. But the Saints squeaked this game out 16-15. That was a very tough game, close game, gritty. Games like that really come down to culture, grit, not making mistakes at the wrong time. And the Saints made the necessary plays at the end of the game to win it. Derek Carr finally came alive a little bit at the end of the game. He kind of struggled. He was getting hit a lot, holding the ball a little bit too long. But in the second half, he kind of put it together, and Saints pulled out that win. Tennessee is a great team. They greatly coached. Ryan Tannehill throwing those 3 interceptions and being 16 for 34, it cost him the game. So Tennessee is a very solid team. They're going to be a tough out every game because of how they're coached, how they're ran, and have a good culture. Ryan Tannehill is the only problem I feel with that team. He's not the answer. I don't understand why they're still using him. They should have been got off of him. They just drafted a quarterback 2 years in a row, and you don't play either one of them. I feel like those are the type of things that keep organizations from taking the next step, because you're essentially wasting a pick 2 years in a row when you could have used those picks to improve other pieces of your team. And that's that on that. Let's move to the Bucs and the Vikings. The Bucs, Baker Mayfield, first debut, 21 for 34 and the Bucs 73, 2 touchdowns. Bucs run game is awful. The Buccaneers run game is awful. They look like they should have kept Leonard Fournette, because these running stats is just not gonna cut it. Rachaad White had 17 carries for 39 yards. But at the same time, like I said earlier, that the fact that they kept pounding at it, and then it also contributed to the fact that the Vikings in the second half weren't rolling the same way that they were in the first half. But Justin Jefferson was going crazy in the first half. He had a buck in the first half. I believe in the second half he really didn't have that much yards. He ended with 9 catches and a $150 with 0 touchdowns. Majority of his production was in the first half. Whatever happened in the second half, I believe the Minnesota Vikings will pick it up. They'll fix it. I think that they're a good team. They are probably going to win that division. But Green Bay and Detroit are really going to make it. They're not going to make it easy for them. They're not going to lay down. So it's going to be interesting. That's going to be a division that, is going to be really paid attention to. I think that the breaking point in the game for the Bucs was that 2-minute drill before halftime. Baker Mayfield really made some good throws in that time, and he really got them in rhythm. And I think after that, the Bucs' confidence came back, and they was ready to win this game. I think that the Bucs, again, that's another division rival. That's going to be a problem because they still have those same skill players that they had with Tom Brady, and they still have that same defense. And Baker Mayfield is not a scrub. So if they can get that running game together and Rashad White can be more productive, if they need to hire a free agent, sign somebody free agent off the couch at home, then they need to do that because that running game will keep them from being successful if they don't get that in order. Now the Bengals and the Browns. Joe Burrow had the worst game of his career. 14 for 31, 82 yards. Chase really couldn't get anything done. This is an outlier. They just had a rough night. They just had a rough day out. But at the same time, I'm not going to discredit the Cleveland Browns. They played great football. I think Deshaun Watson is really ready to come back and be Deshaun Watson that we've always known. He's ready to put all that trouble stuff and troubleness that he put on his own self. He's ready to put that behind him and get straight to the football. And I think that the Cleveland Browns are definitely a team that everybody in the AFC need to be worried about because Nick Chubb doesn't have to share carries anymore. He is going to probably have a Derrick Henry type season as far as almost 2,000 yards if he can stay healthy. Nick Chubb is definitely one of those good type of running backs. And if he's doing that at the same time as Deshaun Watson playing great football like he did, well, it wasn't great, but it was decent, and he's going to just continuously to get better because he is that great of a quarterback. Cleveland Browns is definitely going to be a problem. And anybody that has to see them in the playoffs, you should definitely be worried as well. The AFC in general is deep in the more tougher conference, and the AFC playoffs is going to be great. Again, move on to the Texans and the Ravens. We've been with we're going on an hour and 30 minutes. Man, I appreciate you guys still sticking with me. That's why I'm trying to rush up on the end. I'm going to do a better job of chopping this up and making this a lot more easy listening for you all. Again, this is the first episode. I appreciate you guys rocking with me on the OCast on the first episode. The Texans and the Ravens. I think that if that is the offense that the Baltimore Ravens are going to run, they're going to be in trouble because Lamar ran the ball 6 times. He threw 22 for $169, 17 completions. OBJ only had 3 targets. That is a part of the coaching. They have to do a better job of scheming plays for OBJ to get the ball. And they passed the ball so much, I don't understand why they weren't able to do that. Zay Flowers, the rookie, did a great job. He's going to be probably really good all season long. He's going to be up for Rookie of the Year alongside Bijan Robinson, even though OBJ is there. But I think that if the Ravens are going to be dropping back with Lamar Jackson like that and trying to turn him into a pocket passer, that's not a recipe for success. I don't like when scrambling running quarterbacks come to the league and teams try to switch them up and change them into a different type of quarterback. That's not what got them to the NFL. And the fact that you feel like you can't win with that in the league, then why did you draft him? You could have let him go to a team that did believe in him. A lot of these coaches are stuck in their ways when it comes to their offense and their schemes. They want the players to fit them. If that's the case, then you need to pick a player that is fit the role that you want. Don't pick a player that doesn't fit your style and then try to switch them up. It doesn't work. It's like when women try to get a bad boy and think that because she's fine and she's a good woman, she gonna change him. Nah, he's still gonna be a bad boy. If he's not that type of quarterback right now, then you changing him into a pocket quarterback, you think that's going to make y'all more successful, but that's not, because it's not the way he's been playing his entire life. That's not his natural nick. That's not what got him to the NFL. That's not what got him an MVP. That's not what got him a Heisman. Honestly, people might say, well, he's only won one playoff game. Woo, woo, woo. He's only been in the league, 5 years? He has to play those games to get the experience, and the more he plays in those playoff games with his style, he will learn how to play in these type of games when the game is slowed down, and every play is important. Every play is magnified. Every yard means something. He get more games in that setting with his offense, with his play style. He will figure it out. You can't give up on him just because he lost one game and try to say, hey, let's switch the offense. Switching the offense and switching offensive coordinators is another way how quarterbacks end up out the league, because they don't have any consistency. You know what I mean? I don't think that's going to happen with Lamar, because they just paid him a fatty. And I love that he got it. He deserved it. But if that's how the Ravens are going to play football, dropping back with him and not really running the ball with him and using him like that, I don't see them going deep in the playoffs. You have to utilize his running ability alongside his passing ability getting better, getting him an OBJ. You have to incorporate that with what he does great, which is the running first. The Texans, I think C.J. Stroud did all right. He wasn't awful. They weren't timid with their play calling. They opened up the playbook for him. I felt like they let him cut loose. And no, he didn't win the game, but he's a rookie. He was 28 for 44 for 242. That's a lot of passes for him to throw. I think that the Texans, he's at a really bad team. Him and Bryce are on some really bad teams. So their success is going to be more predicated on how they handle tough situations, how they handle losing, how they're developing as leaders, how they're learning the speed of the game. Their success is probably going to be more seen next year, year 2, year 3, year 4. This year, I think that if you're a Panthers fan or a Texans fan, you just need to be paying attention to their body language, how they're handling diversity, how their leadership skills, how they're commanding the huddle, how they're acting on the sideline, how they're protecting the ball. Are they turnover prone? Are they able to stay healthy? Those are the type of things that if you're a Panthers fan and a Texans fan that you should be paying attention to with your quarterbacks, because your teams aren't very good at all, which is why they had those top picks. The Texans probably have a little bit more better players because they've had top picks recently more. With the Panthers, they just traded away Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore 2 years in a row, so they're definitely on a rebuild. So with the Panthers, and that's a good segue into the last game of discussion. The Falcons versus the Panthers, my boys. I'll talk about the Panthers first. Bryce Young, I felt like in the beginning of the game, he was very nonchalant. I felt like almost too nonchalant. But then as the game went on, I realized, you know what, that's just his temperament, and that fits him. Every guy is not a rah-rah guy, and every guy shouldn't be forced to be a rah-rah guy. But he still is a leader. He's doing it in a different way. Small, soft-spoken, highly intelligent, cerebral type player. That type of leadership does work, and it can be successful. But like I said, he doesn't really have a lot of skill positions around him to help him have such a good season. So it's going to probably be a rough year for him. But I definitely think that Bryce is going to be okay. I think he's going to be similar to Drew Brees, small guy who's going to be known for being very, very accurate. Also similar to Tua. His arm strength is something that is criticized a lot, but his anticipation, his ability to get guys the ball running on the catch, meaning he has great accuracy, and his ability to know what the defense is doing and to process information. I hate saying that he's like a computer because it's cliche, but he does process information well. Highly intelligent kid. I think that it's very bright future for him. If Carolina can support him with good players around him, they should be just as good. They should be fine within a couple years from now. Because our division, eventually the Saints are going to be sorry. Eventually the Saints are going to fall off because they keep kicking that salary cap issue that they have down the road, but eventually they're going to have to address it. And eventually the Saints are going to have to clean house because they just have too many bad contracts and they're going to have to start over. The Buccaneers probably being the same thing. If Baker doesn't work out, I probably see the Buccaneers starting a rebuild. They might start trading everybody off if Baker doesn't work out. So our division is pretty much looking like it's going to eventually be us. Not saying that because I'm a Falcons fan, but us and the Panthers and maybe the Saints, depending on how much longer they can keep that good team together when they have such a tight salary cap that they're working with. And last but not least, I'm going to talk about the Falcons, my team. 14 new defensive players, the most in the league. And Bates showed out. He showed out. 2 picks and a forced fumble. I cannot tell you how happy I was to see my defense create turnovers and put pressure on the quarterback. I understand we did it to the Panthers and the rookie, but I'm going to take it. And I'm taking it to the bank because that was needed. Our pass rush for the past couple years has been terrible, awful, damn near non-existent. So for us to change up for us to add these new pieces to the team, it shows that front office, the GM, Mr. Terry, he is trying to really put a good team together to win, and I really appreciate that. The worst thing as a fan that you can feel like is that you're watching these games every Sunday, you're paying your hard-earned money to go to these games to support your team, but the product that is being put on the field is some BS, that they're just taking your money, taking your time, and that the owner doesn't really care. He's just banking on the fact that it's an NFL team, and people ride for the NFL teams, and even if they sorry, they're going to come see the NFL teams, so it's guaranteed money. That's the worst feeling you can have as a fan, to feel like your team, your ownership, and your office does not care about the product that's on the field. That's not how I feel with the Falcons. I think that we're on the right track. We're trying to build a team. I think that offense, running game, we're probably going to lead the team. We're going to be top 5 in rushing. I was going to say we'll lead the league in rushing, but San Francisco, Philly, I think those 2 teams will probably be top 2. We should be top 5, I'll say that, because Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson, that boy Bijan special. That boy Bijan nice. I felt like he should have been starting, but I see why he didn't start, because Cordell Patterson was injured, so they put Bijan, I guess, in the joker position. I'm still interested to see how that works out, a joker position, instead of and let Tyler start. But eventually Bijan gonna have to start. Eventually. But I still think that Tyler Algier should still be a major point in the team. I think that we have 3 great running backs. 2 of them, Patterson and Bijan, can catch passes and line up in the slot and be dynamic. And we have Kyle Pitts, in my opinion, who is still the most untapped potential player, the most untapped potential star in the league. For the past seasons that we've had him, we got hurt last year, and the year before that, we couldn't get him the ball. It seemed like really in the end zone. He is special. He will be special. We just have to continue to get him the ball. Desmond Ridder did find him downfield, and I was so happy to see that, because since we've had him, we haven't really been pushing the ball downfield with him the way that we should. I was so happy to see that catch, because not only was I'm happy that Ridder gave him a chance, but Ridder had to fight for that in the earth. He showed you that he's going to go get that football. You could throw it up there when it's decent coverage, because that was decent coverage. He's going to move Buddy out of the way and say, give me that. Because he's 6'6". He's one of the fastest. He's probably might be the fastest tight end in the league. Runs like a wide receiver. Runs routes like a wide receiver. So I'm very happy with what I saw. Except for the fact that I think our passing game needs to be more aggressive. I think that they didn't let Desmond Ridder push it downfield. He claims that he isn't really too worried about that, which does sound good, because he's just about winning. But if we want to be competitive, we're going to have to push the ball downfield a little bit more, okay? And that's it, everybody. That was a full week of games. Every team played this week. I appreciate you staying down with me for this whole minute and going up on hour and 45 minutes. I realize that is super long. I appreciate you coming and sharing this first episode with me on the OCast. We promise this is going to be the first of very, very many great episodes where we're going to have great content. We're going to have great conversations in the comments. Again, if you are in disagreements with me on whatever I said about your team, of course, let me know how you feel in the comments below. Like I said, this is an interactive channel. This is basically going to be the common central place where all of us, we're going to watch the games, and we're going to come to the OCast, and when the episode drop, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to dissect it, and we're going to all be a community. We're going to be a family. We're going to be a big sports family, all right? Again, appreciate you. Thankful for joining me. Can't wait for the next episode, week 2. Again, this is not just going to be football. We're going to cover basketball, the NBA, women's and men's college basketball, the NFL, college football, boxing, of course. I love boxing. Canelo versus Charlo is coming up real soon in the next couple of weeks. That's going to be box office. You bet your behind. I'm going to make a video about that. Tennis, golf. I'm a fan of it all. Tell me if there's a sport that I did not mention that you would like for me to cover, make a comment, man. I'll make sure I'll get myself into it and start learning it, start paying attention to it, and I'll start making videos about it as soon as I can. It's all about what you all want. Let me know how you feel. Again, thank you for coming, participating on the first episode of the OCast with me. Out.